How did your high school crush turn out as an adult? He's an attractive gay man. I am none of those things. Began acting. It's weird, every so often I'll see a commercial or something and be like, oh, hey, I know them. My crush is an incredibly sweet person. So I'm glad. I remember walking up to her and asking if we could talk in private. And she said you can say what you need in front of everyone. Her group of friends were all around. So I asked if she wanted to go on a date. She burst out laughing and said, yeah. No. It was rough. Man, looked her up last year and she's a cage fighter now. What? My only GF in high school was my crush. Her mom banned her from dating me after about a year because my GF admitted to her mom that we were fooling around. This was about 20 years ago. She's still living with her mom. No kids. And as far as I know never again dated seriously after her mom broke us up. Still has the same job from high school too. It's like her mom went way into protective overdrive and my former GF never grew up. I had two unrealized crushes in high school. One is a teacher and musician. She is married and has either one or two kids. We've kept in loose contact via social media and ran into each other at a night party shortly before she got married. I was introduced to her now husband as favorite ex ever. He seemed like a decent dude and I'm happy for her. I believe the other became a US attorney. I have not heard from her since Google Plus almost because a social media thing. I imagine she's still very productive and would be disappointed in my life choices. Mine was my best friend. She turned out to be a pedophile. She always liked younger guys. Like when she was 17 she had a 13-year-old boyfriend which was weird. But we were kids and I didn't think about it much. Turns out she continued to like younger teens as she grew into her 20s and 30s. Dead by 32. Drugs. I met her in 1987. We got married 5 years ago. We used to go to the same punk shows. That's where met. She's still hot, successful and wealthy entrepreneur, and married someone with the same first name as me and who quit his job to brew beer. I crushed on her for a bit. Didn't think she was interested so I dated others. Then come to find out she crushed on me senior year. I was too dumb and blind. We connected freshman year of college. She wrote me letters. And by the time I wised up she had moved on. No one to blame but myself. Found her on Tinder. She said I was hot. Pointed out that I was that loser she used to know in high school. Had a big laugh. Been a little over a year. Now we send each other memes and hang out occasionally when the pandemic isn't being a breach. They both ended up as great guys. One has a huge family and is a minister. The other only has one child and is a college professor. Both married nice people and are happy. They were really good guys in high school and ended up being really good adults. I've got both of them on Facebook and we keep in touch peripherally as we stayed friends over the years. I was a freshman and had a crush on a senior. To add to it, she was a cheerleader and her brother played QB for the football team and got a college scholarship. She showed up at a football game a couple of years later with a baby in tow. She's married now and back in her hometown. That's about all I know. An insanely talented molecular biology researcher at Boston. And she's still insanely attractive. Edit. It looks like a lot of people feel like they know this same person. It's crazy how many molecular biologists people know. Making me wonder what I ever saw in them. About to be my fiancé if all goes well. He's doing good for himself. He's grown emotionally, has a seemingly healthy relationship with a longtime girlfriend, and is working healthfully on all his career and personal goals. My first high school crush who sat next to me in freshman year English was a really cute punk rock girl and she's gone on to become an incredibly hot fitness model. Haha, my husband. Our first marriages didn't work out and we reconnected after our divorces. If only I would have confessed I had a crush on him in high school. Might have saved myself a lot of trouble. Lol. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Everyone. His friend murdered him over a girl. My English teacher still looks fine as frock. I don't know about you guys but I had way too many crushes in high school. Ended up committing suicide a few years after high school. She was a teacher and got caught having an affair with a female student. Edit. Reddit is weird AF. Some interesting comments here. Became a professional cheerleader. Died of breast cancer at 34. Googling names from high school is crazy. Edit to add. Thanks for all the support Reddit family. I'm also surprised how many on here know her and in a way makes me feel better that such a beautiful girl did make an impact on people's hearts and assured me she is not forgotten. My friend's high school crush was Tom Holland, like they went to the same school. Still hot AF. She ended up getting knocked up by a freshman shortly after we graduated. She has a dog and I don't. I briefly worked with mine and didn't realize it was her until I left for another job. She looked almost unrecognizable. But it was 15 years after I last saw her. She's married with a couple of kids now. So pretty standard life, I guess. I had several. One of them is still a close friend, and he became a primary care doctor. He also officiated my wedding. I have no idea what happened to another one. We didn't really have overlapping friend groups, and she doesn't do social media. One of them is a math professor now. So that's pretty cool. My biggest crush in high school was my longtime neighbor. But it also fizzled out pretty quickly after we went to homecoming together. We're still good friends, and our families still keep in touch. He's also the guy who introduced me to my husband. I never made a move in high school. About 7 years after graduating, I saw her on social media and said what the hell and asked her out. We've been dating for about 2 years and I'm about to pop the big question. Hot douche who doesn't really do much except go to the gym. To be fair, that's how he was in high school. I just liked it back then. She passed away our senior year, 6 months after she agreed to marry me after we graduated. Overdosed and died last year. I got to see him before he was taken off life support with a really good mutual friend we shared. Organ donor too. It was surreal seeing him dwarfed by all these machines. He had one of the largest hearts I've ever come across. Edit graduated back in the early 2000s and last year 2019. WTF, is time even anymore? Going to an all-boys school sucks for having realistic crushes. However, ran into one of the teachers years later and she still looked bellissima. There was a girl I really admired for a while. She didn't really give me the time of day after freshman year though. She was co-valedictorian and hugged me as I crossed the stage at graduation, and no one else got one. I'm still really confused about that 6 years later. She went on to med school and is either married or at least engaged to a guy she met there. Overall, she's doing really well, and I'm happy for her. Edit. Thanks for all the warm wishes and thoughts. Guys, I'm just happy for her, and glad she's doing well. Still a 10 for looks. I'm sure she kept on as the amazing, kind person she is. She moved to another country, speaks multiple languages and is more successful than I imagined. She seems happy, but we haven't talked since the time I told her how I felt about her about 20 years ago. I had 3. 1 from the first 2 years and 2 from the last 2. The first one is now F to M trans, who walked to Colorado to join a cult commune. He is now in Arizona recording rap albums. The second girl moved to Florida and lives in a swamp. She periodically hits me up to tell me she misses me. How dumb I was that I didn't follow through. That we should get married. The third was a missionary. She wasn't really into it once she grew up. Came back home and I introduced her to one of my closest friends. They've been married for 15 years. 0 thirds. Went on to be a teenaged model for hair products. Graduated from Yale. Toured Europe. Opened her own successful ceramics company that is sold worldwide and is often written up in magazines. Makes me feel like Sid every time I think of her. We reconnected through Facebook, though I can't stand FB anymore. Went in our late 40s and now she is my wife. She's still beautiful. You made me check, and she is actually a very successful artist and an art teacher at a renowned university in France. She even got decorated for her work. Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres. Edit. Thanks for the attention. I'm not really willing to give much more details. I'm just going to add that she's French and she's not teaching in Paris. She ended up dating and marrying the guy who bullied me all through middle school and high school. They seem like a functional family from what I see on social media. She turned out great. She married me. We actually met in kindergarten. Just checking in to confirm that I was no one's high school crush. Carry on. She committed suicide. Found out later she had a crush on me too. Frock life sometimes. It was one of those days where they just suddenly pop into your head and you decide to try and look them up on Facebook. Found him. He ended up being a pilot. Added him and we became Facebook friends. Turns out he has a flight attendant girlfriend and they were traveling together, and then few months after being FB friends they shared the news they were having a baby. Haha. My high school ex randomly sent me a text years after we split up that went, "I know you don't like metal, but I thought you'd like this," and a link to a clarinet cover of a metal song I played in HS. Little did he know that I hated playing clarinet and I was now a total metalhead. He is still hot, got a part-time scholarship to study engineer and is dating a Miss Spain runner-up. Hedge fund manager with a trophy wife. Turns out I was attracted to losers and burnouts. Lol. That hasn't changed much. One of them is homeless and a druggie. It's very sad. The other one is famous in his home country, is a best-selling author, and is regularly on TV. Don't have a crush on him anymore, but I'm glad we are still friends. And I'm happy for how well he's done. I guess they balance one another out. She was aware then. Over 30 years ago. But it was unrequited. We've been in casual contact through Facebook for the past several years. And once before that my wife. At the time. And I had her and her husband over for dinner. From what I can tell, she's grown into a person I probably would have been happy with. It's nice to see my high school perspective got a few things right. I think we'd be good friends if we lived closer. She appears to be living a good life with her husband and family. With my second wife, I'm happier than I could have ever imagined. Life worked out well. One I don't keep track of at all. I'm not sure what she's up to. The other I married. She turned out awesome. Still cute as heck. One of the kindest and most sensitive people I know. And still one of my best friends 15 years later. He's also recently divorced. His wife was gay but needed time and support to come to terms with it, and now he and I are slowly testing the waters. What started as a crush has matured into a deep and rich friendship, and however it may unfold, I'm so grateful to have that relationship in my life. Pretty good. Seems to have her life together, although she had a few setbacks. She's gone back to uni since job prospects in her field kinda sucked, but seems to be really enjoying it. She's dating me though, so clearly her judgment sucks. He's always posting average photos on Facebook with douchey artsy captions that make me cringe with his name water stamped on. Very well. He joined the military and served for a number of years. Was in after Vietnam and out before the Gulf War, so I'm not sure if he actually saw much active duty. And then settled in Korea where he trained in Tae Kwon Do and did a lot of professional fighting, and won a lot of awards. Attained the rank of Grand Master and returned to the US and opened a very successful school that specializes in TKD and Hapkido. Has opened additional locations, and is currently looking to open one in our old hometown. I imagine that will happen post-COVID. He was this nice cool guy who would consistently post memes and stuff on social media. Then 2 or 3 years later, he deleted all of his social media. I don't have his phone number or know any friends that know him, so I don't know how he's doing, but I hope he's doing well. I had a few in high school. One ended up moving away after sophomore year and no one knew why. She reached out to me when I had a mental breakdown online and said that she could understand what I was going through. Some frocked up shit happened to her, though she never said what specifically. I didn't ask further because it wasn't my business to pry. I'm not sure how she is now. Another got super hot after high school and she did a degree in science. Again, not sure where she is now, but I think she doing alright. And the third works at a bank. We ended on bad terms. Partially my fault. I found out she was making fun of me behind my back and had done so for months beforehand, so I sent her an angry message. Haven't seen her since then. One is still active duty in the military and she has a very successful career as an officer. I hope she continues to be. The other is successful in the arts and I hope she continues to be that as well. Both are married to others who treat them well. I'm happy that they are both happy. My life is still going good here, so I have no hard feelings. Found out she was fat and unattractive. Then I realized I was too. Harvard. Degrees in writing and medicine. Became a leading surgeon in a major city. Extremely proud of her. Always had her on a pedestal. I guess with good reason. The guy the first crushed on for 2.5 years did not end up turning out great. I'm still friends with his younger sister, so I know that he recently acquired his third DUI and his second divorce. He's currently living in his friend's basement and occasionally works for his friend's moving company as a mover. But only when he feels like it. He spends all his money on booze and owes the 2 moms of his 5 kids tons of child support. But man, was he hot in high school. My second crush in high school is the only reason I got over my first crush. He's currently doing great, mostly because he gets to be married to me for going on 20 years. Not as cute as I remember. She's still gorgeous and is pretty successful. I'm fat now and drink alone. He's 32 and still works at the same pizza place and is a conspiracy theorist, so I feel like I dodged a bullet. My crush turned into a self-righteous prick who still lives with his parents. He became livid when he found out my husband and I had a baby. I apparently was supposed to be his backup plan if he couldn't find anyone better. The day I realized I was no longer young was the day I realized every last girl I had a crush on in high school had either become a mom, a lesbian, or both. Like the majority of my classmates. On drugs and in and out of trouble. So few have actually made a good life for themselves. We split sophomore year, went our separate ways, but still sporadically kept in touch as he prepared to go to Iraq. Years passed, he got divorced, and then my husband passed away in 2019 from a motorcycle accident. We reconnected, and decided to hang out as friends. By the second date, we were inseparable. We live together and are incredibly happy. He's beyond supportive of my past grief that I still battle sometimes. He's a great provider, and the most loving, selfless person I've known in a very long time. I feel very lucky to have gotten a second chance with my HS crush, first HS boyfriend, first love. Great from the looks of it. I have good taste. Turns out he's gay, and got fired from a teaching job for having inappropriate relationships with his male students. Edit. I should clarify that to my knowledge he was not frocking the students, but he was caught sending lewd text messages and whatnot. First one has been married almost 25 years to a beautiful woman and has 2 beautiful children. But he's a serial cheater and I dodged a bullet. Second one owns the farm next to me. He's been married 15 years with a daughter, but he too constantly cheats on his wife. So again, dodged a bullet. Thank God I saw the pattern and broke the cycle. I've been married 18 years to a good man and the only cheating we do is financial. Still not cool. I know, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Handsome and nice. I think he's doing good. Has a little boy and seems happy with his girlfriend. We had a brief fling and while it was fun I realized I didn't want long term as he seemed to have a problem with alcohol. Not really sure as they still won't talk to me. A frocking cow rapist. She married some idiot and had my babies. When we dated he was a promising boxer. Now he sells city timeshares in Vegas. She is bisexual and married a woman. She is a speech therapist now. Still really good looking. Still a nice person. I am happy her life turned out well. Leathery. Turns out a decade or so working on Hawaii beaches makes you look about 10 years older than you are. Wear sunblock. Gay. But he seems successful and happy, so that's good. She died in a car crash at age 22. You guys still in contact with your high school crush? I'm still dating him. Still cute and funny. He's suffering through med school while I suffer through PA school. Got married and started a teaching career. And was broadsided by a pickup truck in a hit and run. She died at the scene. My high school sweetheart is now dating my mom, so. My high school crush went her separate way after I went to Vietnam and got married. We continued to write each other while overseas. 3 years ago we reconnected after she showed me all the letters I sent her. We are madly in love with each other at age 70. Crush 1 is working for a bank. He was just a shy guy. Crush 2 is working at a marketing agency. He was a metalhead. Crush 3 is a chemistry engineer and I have some suspicion that he is a closeted bisexual. In high school we used to flirt on the hallways and eventually we went for an ice cream to our local convenience store, but not much besides that. Still we had fun checking out the cover of gossip magazines. Crush 4 became like a handsomeness standard for me. He always wanted to be an airplane pilot just like his dad and I'm glad he made it. Also he recently got married. Crush 5 is a software engineer and seems to be economically in a better place. I'm also glad he accomplished his goals. She has aged beautifully. Has 3 kids and appears perfectly content. Good for her. Honestly. What are the odds 2 Redditors are posting about each other in response to this question? Unbeknownst to either? Still looks good. Divorced with a few kids. I was the typical fall in love with who I'm dating dude in high school guy. Took me till college to get out of that mode. Looking back I was an overbearing, to put it gently, moron. Was WAAAAAY too serious about dating back then? My wife's former crush randomly messaged her on Facebook one day. She frocked him on day 2. She's now my ex-wife. She's jobless living with his mom, and I have the kids. Edit. It would figure that this is my most upvoted post. My kids are 5 and 3 so they don't understand it much, but I'm hoping for the long game when they realize which parent was really there for them. My son still says hurtful things at times like, I don't want to live with you anymore. I want to live with mommy, when he's angry. Thank you everyone for making my week. I really needed to smile. It's my son's first week in kindergarten and dealing with her through the process has been hell. An MLM lady. Anti-vax. Glad I got out. She's still gorgeous, smart and funny, but now I see she has a drinking problem and is emotionally abusive to friends. But gorgeous is never lonely for long. The same as when we were just leaving school, hence why he is an ex. She's a TikTok influencer who shaved off her eyebrows and draws symbols on her face. Yeah. Handsome as ever, but struggling with mental illness more than I would have expected. Single and seems lonely. Think we could have been good friends throughout our lives. Nice to be in contact with him on FB. I bumped into her last weekend while visiting my parents. She's great. She's still beautiful. Her husband seems like a really good guy, and they have 2 adorable children. She has a great career teaching in the same Long Island high school we graduated from. My wife and I ended up meeting her and her husband out for a couple of drinks that night. It was a really good time. A couple of years after graduating, she realized she was asexual, moved across the country, and I believe is now married to another asexual person. Still a big drive. Who fan though? Saw a picture of her recently wearing a TARDIS-themed ball gown. Edit. Hit a wrong key. Changed now. She did pretty well for herself. Just recently retired. Bought a nice house in our hometown after making a shit ton of money in a larger city. Married a dopey-looking dude and popped out few kids. She seems happy. But when I talked to her last, I could tell that she just was the type of person that just puts on the face for everyone else. Get a few drinks in her and she basically told me her life was a total frocking waste, and if it wasn't for her kids she would have sold everything and moved overseas. Married him. Now I'm having his baby and he's making me fondue for Valentine's Day. We got married. We both pursued other relationships thinking there was no chance. We were best friends and leaning on each other during rough times in our last relationships with other people when we finally admitted that attraction to one another. Been together 18 years now. She's currently unemployed with 3 children and she's in the middle of a divorce. Last I heard she was sleeping with a guy because he was buying her groceries, weed, and helping her make rent. She got her tits out in an HBO show which was totally unexpected. She's cool. Been together since we were in 10th grade. 1997. Married in 2007. And we now have 3 kids and a nice life. Got pregnant by some random stoner. She became a hippie stoner. They broke up. Now she's a single mom with a no college education, just getting by. A shame because she wasn't a student. Dolly Parton is doing just fine. She went to college with her high school sweetheart. She gained 60+ pounds. He left. And she became a teacher, who later was accused of sleeping with a student, so she left the ISD and went to another. Lost track after that. It appears I dodged a bullet. Still super hot. She married some loser and has a few kids with him. That loser was me. Just celebrated 22 years of marriage. Edit. 'Cause words are hard. He went to the damn Olympics for Taekwondo. Turned out to be gay. So did I. Worked out perfectly. She has 5 kids and is addicted to meth. Dodged a bullet on that one. Divorced with 2 kids. I took her and her kids to lunch after meeting her in a mall one day. I hadn't seen her in over 10 years. We caught up on small talk and I asked the kids if they were hungry. They said yes. I just wanted to spend more time with my crush. After lunch I asked if I could see her again. She laughed at me and said I could never go out with someone like you. She said the exact same thing to me in high school. That's my life. I'm not good enough for anybody. Well, we're married now. One ended up the pastor of a church with what seemed to be some views I don't entirely agree with. I haven't kept touch or kept track, so I'm not sure how far she takes those views. Her life just generally took a track mine wouldn't have meshed with. The other. I dated in high school and multiple times after high school right up until I was almost 30. She's married with a kid now. She grew to be strong, smart, and creative. Really. We were dynamite together when things were good. But I don't know how much of the woman I loved remains now. I have no regrets about how it all turned out between us. I just sincerely hope her husband never has to deal with the emotional manipulation or outright physical abuse she used to throw my way when things got bad between us. Not high but elementary school. She became a successful professional bodybuilder. She has performed in bodybuilding tournaments all around the world, even won some. I can't believe she used to be this little sweet girl, and now she could frock me up with one hand tied. 2 years after he graduated we ended up studying in the same university. We started talking. He was still my crush. And 2 years later he's my boyfriend and we're planning on moving in together and on the long-term marrying. So yeah, that's good. Still super hot and also some type of doctor. I'm still a dumb loser guy. We outgrew our feelings for each other and we're actually best friends now. I'm super proud of the man he's grown into. Still hot, but she's now one of those girls who post nothing but Bible quotes and promoting her homebrewed essential oils and healthcare products. He's jobless, very overweight, still lives with his family, plays video games 24/7, still hasn't had his first kiss but has had a few online girlfriends through the years. Nice guy though. Really funny. Just has zero motivation in life. My girlfriend. He died in 2012 at age 23 in a hit-and-run accident. But he was still amazing. Miss him a lot. She married 5 times. I was the first. Her last husband died last spring. I imagine number 6 will be coming soon. He's been a neo-Nazi for about 10 years. I'm super glad he wasn't interested in me. Engineer at SpaceX. Happily married with 2 dogs. Happy for her. Anyone else reading these hoping one of them describes you? Maybe just me, haha. Edit. Wow. Did not expect a reply, yet alone an award. I'm shocked. Thanks. Wealthy, alcoholic, and shameless gold digger before the age of 25. Moved back to his home country. Committed homicide during a robbery attempt and ended in jail. Never heard of him since then. My crush is just a text message away, but I intentionally don't message her. Don't want to know how she turned out to be. What her life is now. I guess I still want to remember her as my innocent and cute darling from high school.